as somebody that is authentic, you're likely not going to be trying to be mysterious or trying to be unpredictable necessarily, but it's going to happen more naturally because nobody, I suspect, will actually ever be able to truly and fully understand anybody else except for God. And the reason for that is because, you may be looking at my YouTube channel, you may be looking at my businesses, you may be looking at whatever it is about me, my creativity, my work, whatever it is. But none of that stuff and none of what you really see here is fully 100% what I am. Okay, and in the Bible it says, I am that I am, right? That's what Moses is charged by God to go declare unto the people. Well, why is this? Well, it's because you are that which you are, nothing more, nothing less. And I am is the most powerful statement that anybody can make. And so the reason for this is because not only are you asserting yourself, but you're also acknowledging that you exist while also knowing through self-awareness that you exist. And I want to talk today about law number 17 in the 48 laws of power, because this has a lot to do with why your authentic unpredictability is going to be a weapon or a tool, and you have to know how to use that properly in an orderly fashion. Otherwise, you're going to orient yourself into a manner that's going to be exponentially terrifying, and it's going to be too much about power. It's going to be too much about trying to just get things from people, and it's not about giving back. Because as great and as greatly sinister as the 48 laws of power might seem to you, I genuinely believe that there's a lot of just simple truth to it. It doesn't seem to me like Robert Greene, who is the author, is trying to say that this is good or this is evil. He's just saying this is what it is and this is how people operate. Take it or leave it. So keep others in suspended terror. We're going to read through this a little bit. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read a few parts here that I think stand out to me the most, and then we're going to comment and analyze it down the line. So, keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Humans are creatures of habit with an insatiable need to see familiarity in other people's actions. Your predictability gives them a sense of control. Turn the tables and become deliberately unpredictable. Well, so, okay. People want a sense of control and understanding of who you are. And so when people don't understand who you are, they now need to feel like they now have the feeling that they need to put you in a box. And you'll see people like this, for example, Bob Dylan. He's pretty much spent his whole life as an artist. He's spent his whole life basically saying, if you go left, I'll go right, and vice versa. And you'll see this with a lot of people that are godly as well. And I'm not saying that Bob Dylan is a godly man, but I do think that he has a lot of interesting music compositions that demonstrate that he is at least aware of something greater. And he has done a few different albums that seem to be one in particular that I'm thinking of from like the 80s, I think. He's done something that is particularly for the glory of God. But he's spent his whole life doing that, and godly people also cannot be put into a box. And so many times people get upset by us not being able to be put into a box that they get really frustrated, and they'll start to take out their demons onto your light because they don't understand what else to do. And that's going to be something that you have to have the tendency and the innovative vision to see beforehand. And this comes with having a sense of unpredictability. So behavior that seems to have no consistency or purpose will keep them off balance, and they will wear themselves out trying to explain your moves. Taken to an extreme, this strategy can intimidate and terrorize. And that's true. The strategy can intimidate and terrorize, and I know that because right now my mode of being and my regimen is no regimen. I'm just going about and doing what I can to the fullest each and every day. I'm taking everything I can and applying it to whatever I can in all aspects of my life. And so this is something that I also wanted to talk about. It says this law does not apply only to war, but to everyday situations. People are always trying to read the motives behind your actions and to use predictability against you. Now, how many times have you seen people, specifically at the grocery store or maybe at a coffee shop or something? If you're a regular somewhere, let's say that you're a regular at a restaurant or something, and you get something regularly every time. When you don't get that regular thing, what happens? Anybody that doesn't usually do this may not understand what I'm saying, but I often, when I was going to coffee shops pretty regularly for the last few years, up until last June, I haven't actually eaten out anywhere since June of 2024. And when I finally went out to eat for the last time, and I really started to contemplate, why do I not want to go out to eat anymore, and et cetera, it's like people think they know who you are because of what you do. And that's what I always disliked. I always disliked that. And even the behaviors that you exhibit may be similar, and there may be some kind of routine to it. And I'm okay with routine. In fact, I like routine. But sometimes people get too comfortable. They get too comfortable. And this isn't just recently that this has happened. This is like years and years ago. But people will get too comfortable, and they'll start to believe that they can start to disrespect you, or they can start to do this or that, or take advantage of your time because you're willing to go above and beyond for them. But that's not how this life works, okay? That's not how this life works anymore. And especially as godly people, we need to be able to move in a way that is not counterintuitive to us, but perhaps sometimes counterintuitive to other people. And just by being who we are, we're going to do that naturally. This is why I say that unpredictability, and your authentic unpredictability, that is a tool or a weapon. So, throw in a completely inexplicable move and you will put them on the defensive. Because they do not understand you, they are unnerved, and in such a state, you can easily intimidate them. Okay, so he goes on to say, Pablo Picasso once remarked, the best calculation is the absence of calculation. And this is actually one of the reasons why I say that my regimen now is no regimen, and my routine is no routine. Because once you have attained a certain level of recognition, others generally figure out that when you are doing something, it's for an intelligent reason. So it's really foolish to plot out your movements too carefully in advance. You're better off acting capriciously. So that's an interesting and a not so intuitive way to look at things, right? Because, well, if you do get a level of recognition, you start doing the things a specific way. It kind of reminds me of Jordan Peterson. He's always been asked for the last, 5 or 6 years, so do you think Jesus Christ is God? And Jordan Peterson always responds with something like, I act as if God exists. He's not necessarily answering the question, but he's not evading it either. And so sometimes it's better for people to respond in that kind of way. And obviously Jordan Peterson has an incredible intellect, and I don't necessarily agree with everything he does or says anymore, but that's not to say that his biblical series, for example, if nobody's ever watched that, by the way, that was an impressive work of art that will go through the spans of time. I genuinely believe that, because that was just a profound way to look at things and look at life. And it really opened my eyes to how the Bible could be perceived, because up until I was hearing those things, I never had read the Bible. And now, obviously, I'm reading the Bible every day because I follow Christ. And I think this is one of the reasons why, speaking of Christ, I think this is one of the reasons why the Pharisees, for example, were so unnerved at, to use the vocabulary here of the book, they were so unnerved to see Jesus doing what he did, and he's doing all these miracles and such. He seems like he says who he says he is, or he is who he says he is, and yet something happens. Something happens where the Pharisees cannot take that he has this kind of power and authority, and they don't. And so this is one of the reasons why unpredictability can be intimidation at the highest echelons, because people that don't know who exactly you are, and yet you seem to have everything figured out, they're going to be scared by that. Now let's go further on. So unpredictability is not only a weapon of terror, scrambling your patterns on a day-to-day basis will also cause a stir around you and stimulate interest. So this is one of the reasons why it's a law of power, because in order to have power, you have to have some kind of form of interest in people watching you or looking at you or something like that. And this is one of the reasons why you've got to tread lightly when it comes to like people watching you, because I made a video a few days ago or last week called people watching you and they don't even like you. I have people watching my YouTube channel that don't like me. I have people that have I've done business with that didn't even like me. And so this was in the past, of course, but these kinds of things, you want to be careful of that, because they're sometimes only interested in you to kind of, what kind of stuff do you got? What you got something, what are you eating? What are you drinking? I once had somebody ask me, I was on fire at the basketball court one time. And the guy asked me, he's like, "Man, what did you eat for breakfast?" And I looked at him and I said, "Confidence." and the thing is like, obviously, I didn't eat anything that day in the morning. And because like what I was saying was just truthful. It was that's the best way to be, is to be truthful but kind of vague. You'll see this with other kinds of characters in movie genres and such as well too, like James Bond. James Bond is always truthful. He never breaks his word, but he's always kind of vague, and the words that he speaks always kind of have multiple meanings to them, depending on how you look at it. And this is one of the reasons why sources like the Bible, for example, is so powerful, because you'll read a verse and then you can go back months later, read the same verse, and have a completely different frame of mind going into reading the verse, and it will remind you and make you think about other things that you never even thought about thinking about prior to that. So this is one of the reasons why it's important to maintain an authentic part of who you are at all times, even when you're striving to be influential or powerful or whatever it is that you want people to respect you, right? There was once a time when I wanted people to respect me. I wanted to be taken seriously, dang it. And now it's more like I don't necessarily look at it as people need to take me seriously. It's more like I want to simply be who I am and respected for who I am. I don't want to be respected for the image or the appearance of what people think I am. I want to be respected for simply who I am. And I want people to know me based off of my true identity. And that too can be a mystery, even unto myself sometimes. But that's just the way that we have to think about this thing, because sometimes we are mysteries unto ourselves. And I think you'd be lying if you said, "Oh, I know exactly everything about me." It's like, well, we may know who we are, we may know what we're about, but to really know what's going to happen, what we're going to do when certain things happen, sometimes you don't really know until you're there. And only time can reveal that. But let's continue. People will talk about you, ascribe motives and explanations that have nothing to do with the truth, but that keeps you constantly on their minds. In the end, the more capricious you appear, the more respect you garner. Only the terminally subordinate act in a predictable manner. And this is part of being a godly person. This is part of being a chosen one, is you're not necessarily rebellious, but you're not necessarily going to fall in line. And this is one of the reasons why you're chosen, is because God knows that you'll follow him and you'll be able to humble yourself before him, but you don't put any man or woman above you or below you except for God himself. So with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. If you do want to join the Regal Change Academy, we have upcoming on February 8th, we have the virtual meditation retreat coming up. You don't have to necessarily be in the academy for this specific event, but if you are in the academy, you're going to get a discount for it. And if you do want to participate, it's going to be an all-day event. We're going to have meditations, guided meditations throughout the day, a opening and closing meeting as well. If you want more information about that, email me at regalchange@gmail.com. If you do want to join the free Discord, you can check out the link in the description box below with free resources for fitness, meditation, healing, etc. And then we have the paid community, where right now we are doing a Art of War class series. We got done about a month and a half ago or so with the 7 Deadly Sins class series, reading Dante's Inferno. We have more class series coming down the line. We also have a bunch of other hands-on classes that you can do by yourself. So the class series that we have are more group settings, and we do that collectively, and it is actually like a class. It's as if we are in a class. But there are some things that you can do where you can learn on your own time. Those are your own classes that you can take on your own time. Put a lot of hours and effort into that for you guys. So those will be in the paid community. I do want to appreciate everybody moving from YouTube over to X, Rumble, and Instagram. I appreciate your guys' extra support. And with all that being said, peace be with you all. Till next time.